I have been defeated. As many of you may know, I have made it my life's mission to fix every possible issue with the CW Flash show. Every single retcon, every single plot hole, I want to solve it all in hopes of making the Flash more enjoyable to watch. And I've done a pretty good job too, if I'm not gonna lie. I made a pretty good video on Savitar's real identity, helping explain that plot hole. But there's always been one thing that's irked me about the Flash. One thing that I just can't seem to figure out how it works. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is time travel. For some reason, I just can't find a good solution on how to make time travel work in the Flash without creating a million plot holes. So because of that, this is it, guys. I'm done. I'm calling it. And like any good captain, I have to go down with the ship. All right, guys, this is it. An acknowledgement of all my failures. I have to go down with my ship. I am deleting my account. What are you doing? What do you mean, what am I doing? I'm deleting my account. It's over, we're done. So you're telling me you're just giving up? I can't figure out how time travel works in the Flash. There's too many plot holes, it's too confusing, and I just can't articulate myself in the best way. All right, John, listen, this is what you have to do. You have to think, what would the Flash do? Would the Flash just give up and be content with just ending things, or would the Flash do whatever it takes to figure out a way to help someone and to figure out the goal? You're right. The Flash wouldn't stop. The Flash would keep going. The Flash would continue to make stuff until it's been exhausted and it doesn't even make sense anymore because it knows how many views and how much money it brings in, and it's not going to let go of this great marketing factor. You're absolutely right. Oh my God. All right. In all seriousness, I actually have been thinking about time travel recently, and I think I finally figured it out. I think I finally figured out how time travel works in the Flash show without it creating a bunch of time loops and paradoxes. Let me explain. All right, if I'm gonna explain how time travel works in the CW Flash show, I first have to write out the timeline. And this is the timeline. This is where all the crazy stuff that we see happens. And this point right here is where Barry Allen is born, where Barry Allen is first introduced to life. That sounded so weird, right? And Barry Allen lives on the time stream and, he experiences all the things. Right here is where his mom dies, He sees his mom dying. And then right here is where he gets his powers for the first time. He's struck by lightning and he gets his powers. And then right here is Barry Allen's first instance with time travel. And what am I talking about? Well, in one episode of The Flash, we see that Barry Allen is running to the morgue in order to stop Mark Martin. And while he is running, he then sees another version of the Flash running. That makes him stop and, he's a little discombobulated. So after going to the morgue, he talks to Harrison Wells and he's like, hey, I saw another version of the Flash. It's very confusing. I don't know what's going on. So because Harrison Wells says, don't worry about it, Barry doesn't worry about it. And then right here is where Mark Martin summons the giant tidal wave to destroy Central City. So in order to protect everybody he loves, Barry Allen runs back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and in doing so, he ruptures the time stream and then gets shot out to right here. He then sees the version of the Flash running, and he's shot out to the point where he ghosted for the first time. But here's the thing, guys. He doesn't actually time travel, because if he time traveled, if he actually physically time traveled, he would have went back to this moment in time, and there would have been two Barry Allens. But there wasn't. There wasn't two Barry Allens. There was only one Barry Allen. It was only our Barry Allen. A Barry Allen who still had the memories of all of this stuff. So because Barry still has the memories of everything that happened, he then stops Mark Martin. He shows up to his place and throws him in prison. And this is obviously different than what happened up here, but because Barry Allen still has the memories of this timeline, because he still remembers running back and forth, that stuff still happened. So because those things still actually happened and Barry still has his memories, when Barry jumps back to this point, he doesn't actually go back in time. What happens is the Speed Force generates a new reality based on him going super duper duper fast. And him remembering that is super duper crucial because, he stops Mark Martin. And all of that stuff, while it doesn't happen in this time stream, it still happens to Barry. So Barry Allen doesn't actually time travel, he just jumps realities. This can also explain what happened to OG Barry, right? This is OG Barry Allen's timeline. correct? And in this timeline, you know, the particle accelerator exploded in 2020 or whatever, and this point right here is when the Reverse Flash is like, all right, I'm gonna go back in time to kill the younger version of Barry. So he jumps back in time, and this then shoots him out to this point. And because he shoots out to this point, again, it doesn't erase everything that he did and he lived and he experienced, because he still fought a different version of the Flash. He still fought a version of Flash that was around in 2020. He generates a new reality where Barry's mom is dead, and then Barry lives his life, and then he generates a new reality where Mark Martin didn't destroy the city. And the reason why I say that these are new realities and this isn't really time travel is because all of this stuff still happened. Just because you change the past doesn't mean you change the timeline. Avengers Endgame explains this very, very well. If you go back in time and try to change the past, that past becomes your future, and the present becomes your past. So it's impossible to change. So when you change the timeline, you don't actually change the timeline. Like, this did happen. It did, in fact, happen. And it probably is still going on, or maybe it's cut off, I don't know. But this actually happened. Barry just hopped to a new reality where it didn't. This can also explain future time travel that we see. When we see in season 2, when his dad is killed in front of him, and then he goes back in time again, he goes back in time to save his mom. And in doing so, this generates a whole ass new reality, because Barry spawns back here. And he spawns back here with the memories of all of this stuff. He still remembers doing it, which means he still, in fact, did it. Even though he starts to lose his memories, and you know, some people say he loses speed, it doesn't really matter. And it doesn't matter because even if he did lose his memories right here, say he never left Flashpoint, he still did all of this stuff. All of this stuff still occurred. It just didn't occur on this particular timeline, which is why at the end of Flashpoint, the Reverse Flash then takes Barry and, you know, re-kills Barry's mom, and this generates, again, a totally new timeline. And in this timeline, things are so much different, but Barry has no memories of anything that happened on this timeline. Because it was new, it was created, it was generated. Barry still has the memories of all of this shit. He doesn't have the memories of this. And that is just evidence that when a speedster time travels, they don't in fact time travel, they just create new realities based on those points. And it's the Speed Force that has to make those realities. The Speed Force even says in season 3, we know that you were in pain. That's why we allowed you to change the timeline, you know? The Speed Force allows whether a speedster changes the timeline or not. And when a speedster changes the timeline, they just reality hop to different places. Do you guys understand what I mean? I'm sorry, I don't even know if I'm gonna post this video because it's very complicated. All this stuff is very, very complicated. And the reason why it's so complicated is because the writers of The Flash weren't really thinking when they introduce time travel and when they do all of this shit. You know, so it's up to me to try to make some sense in all of it. And you know, I can't tell you guys how many times I like made this video and then had to delete it because it was like, it didn't make any sense. And I was like, oh, I'm not explaining myself well. So I hope this is the take. I hope I explained myself well here. And I hope I've proven to you all how time travel works in the Flash universe. And I hope I was able to like fix any critiques that you guys have had. And before I go, I really just want to thank all of you for watching. You know, the fact that I get to make fun videos like this, you know, where I talk about, you know, the CW Flash timeline and people watch it really does mean a lot to me. So I really appreciate all of your support. You know, I love you guys. See you later.